I'm often asked by people, Rod, you've been training salespeople for many, many years. You've been involved in sales and marketing, for over 40 years. Is there any such thing as a natural salesperson? I always look them dead in the eye. And I say, have you ever heard of a natural doctor? And they go, no. So I say, well, why would there be a natural salesperson? What is a doctor? A doctor is somebody who develops his or her skills, who spends a lot of time trying to understand their customer, who spends something like 80% of their training understanding how to diagnose. So what do we do in most sales organisations? We have salespeople who, instead of having 5 years of training, if they get 5 minutes of training, they're doing pretty well. See, the issue is that we think that salespeople have to be this bubbly, outgoing, entrepreneurial type of person to be successful. And that isn't necessarily the case. In the years that I've worked with salespeople all around the world, I've discovered that there are salespeople who are really outgoing. You know, they're that common make it happen type of person. But there are also people who are very quiet, very analytical, and people that understand people. One of the top life insurance salespeople that I trained many years ago, he was very analytical. He was not that outgoing, bubbly type of person. Because he spent lots of his time diagnosing the problems. He would even send an agenda to customers for their meetings, so they knew exactly what they were going to discuss. Now, normally, salespeople, they don't do that. That's because we fail very badly to understand what selling is really all about. We fail to understand that the traditional pyramid of selling, that is a little bit on opening, a bit on about features and benefits, and then a heavy emphasis on closing the sale. Well, that doesn't actually work. In all the books that I've read, and I've read a lot of books on selling, the bulk of these books talk about how to close the sale, how to make the deal. In one I read a couple of years ago, they talked about, you won't believe this, but they said a Halfnelson close. And let me ask a question. What do? You push them over the desk and push their arm up their back? Well, what's Halfnelson close? The answer is, of course, it's because people perceive selling as a battle. We see the customer as the enemy. It's that adversarial relationship, and that never builds long-term relationships. Today's customers, and we know because we're customers too, they're more in control, more sophisticated. Many of us work in sales situations, so we know when a salesperson's trying to manipulate us or use manipulative techniques on us. So we've learned the techniques to build up the resistance to them. No thanks, or just looking, or let me have a think about it, or I'll get back to you. Does that sound familiar? Today, the new way of selling, the 21st century way of selling, is to invert that pyramid. The real key to selling is not what you say. It's what you ask. Asking the right questions, building rapport, understanding the customer, identifying their buying motive. Because let's just face it, it doesn't matter where you go in the world. When you look at surveys, and they're done all over the place, about the type of professions that are the most ethical and most honest, seen as being as the most professional, let me assure you, selling doesn't come at the top, unfortunately. Who comes at the top? It's the doctors and the nurses and even firemen. Because, you see, they help people. Because people trust them. Where do you see the salesman? Right down the bottom, just one above the prostitutes. See, if you think about it, what do doctors do? They spend 5 to 7 years of training. And what do they spend 80% of that time doing? Learning how to diagnose. Only 20% is spent really on effecting cures. Now, shouldn't we be thinking the way as a salesperson if we want to be seen that professional? Shouldn't we be saying to ourselves, 80% of the sales presentation, not about telling the customers features and benefits. 80% of the sales process should be about asking questions, identifying and understanding the customer's style, their buying motives, their why want, so that we realise that not everybody buys in exactly the same way. Some people are, they're very analytical. They want to look at the details. So we have to provide the facts and the figures. Some people, on the other hand, are very short and sharp and want to move things. So we have to move it through fairly promptly. So we have to spend to understand them, understand how to deal with different people differently. For me, how to sell is about understanding how, as I said, to ask questions and how to listen intently. How to get the customers to recognise that we've actually heard what they're saying. Giving them something back, like saying, so if I understand you correctly, sir, and then paraphrasing back to them what they've told you. That, to me, is the real art of selling. That's a skill, and it doesn't come naturally, because there is no such thing as a natural salespeople. Good salespeople have developed new skills. Good salespeople do it over and over again, because, you see, there's a real difference between a good salesperson and a poor salesperson. Dr. Ian G. Gray, an eminent psychologist, summed it up when he said, the difference between successful salespeople and unsuccessful salespeople is very clear. The successful salesperson has developed the habit of doing the things the unsuccessful salesperson will not do. You look at good salespeople, what do? They ask 10 times as many questions as a poor salesperson. They listen 10 times more intently. They take 10 times more time understanding the customer before they present their product or service. And they don't just do it once. They do it habitually. So our new process should reverse the old one. We should ask lots of questions, identify the key information to allow us to present a solution that fits the customer's needs and wants and fits their goals, their circumstances. We must clarify the information is correct and establish the implications for an effective solution. Present an appropriate solution in a way that obviously matches that need. See, if there are concerns, we don't get upset. We deal with them professionally. We invite the customer to be a long-term client of ours and reassure them that we'll look after them now and in the future. Why? Telecom once said it's 26 times more expensive to get a new customer than it is to keep an existing one. So the challenge is how to sell is not how to talk, but how to listen. It's not how to tell, but how to ask. It's a real art that needs perfecting, that needs long-term development and coaching. It cannot be learned in 5 minutes. It's a long-term behavioural change. Now, if you want to check your current level of sales skills, then take a moment, click on the link and complete an online sales profile. It only takes a couple of minutes, and you'll get instant feedback. What's more, if you provide me with your contact details, I'll give you a free in-depth explanation, including what you need to do to improve how to sell. My next How to Sell video will cover what makes people different and a couple of secrets on how to sell to different people differently. Don't forget, subscribe to my channel and get the updates on how to sell.